Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic. Doctors of Reddit, what was the worst thing you've seen for a patient that another doctor overlooked? Broken neck. No really. So this one guy was brought in with an ambulance for upper airway obstruction. We diagnosed what looked like an advanced throat cancer and did a tracheostomy. After the operation, where you pull and push the neck like crazy, we checked his neck x-ray and a junior asks when did he break his neck. He had a brand new unstable neck fracture. Checking his initial x-ray we see that it was there prior to the operation. After questioning the patient he said that on his way to the hospital the ambulance was in a car crash. No one bothered mentioning it to us when he eventually came in. He only thought he had some whiplash, but he was a few millimeters away from permanent paraplegia. Unfortunately he passed away about 2 weeks later due to the cancer. Man, that's so wild. This thread is so hard to read. It's freaking scary getting told, we're not sure, but don't expect good news. I had pretty constant stomach pain last year. I'm pretty fit /active, eat fairly healthy, 26, so you know, the doctor said it was probably nothing, and gave me some acid reflux meds, which confused me because it was very much a lower abdomen pain. I was in and out of the hospital with this constant pain, man, it was bringing me down. I'm usually super chipper and a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, and when I started feeling not myself, I knew it wasn't nothing. So they did a ton of blood tests and such and still didn't have an answer. I would wake up, after barely sleeping, and say I'll have a single piece of toast, I've been eating toast my whole life, it's not that. And just feel like shit all day. Terrible, terrible stomach pain. I remember just weeping at one point just in a total loss. Like they keep saying nothing's wrong, we can't tell, your blood is fine. So, my doctor suggested I have a colonoscopy just to make sure it wasn't ass cancer or something, and as they were putting me under for the procedure, the attending doctor said, "Hey, I noticed something on your blood work, we're going to take a biopsy of your upper intestine as well, but we'll have to go through your mouth." I was lights out as he said that. So they dental flossed me down the throat and up the back door, so to speak. 3 weeks later, it turns out I have celiac disease. After drinking beer and eating bread my whole life, it just kicked on like that one day. Glad that doc took the edo biopsy because it wasn't showing up on the blood work. My pipes and blood were just fine, but I was severely scarred from celiac in the upper intestine and didn't even know it. It was starting to block proper nutrients from getting absorbed, so if I didn't get that I would have presented to the a few weeks later with scurvy. Wild stuff, and honestly best case scenario because my treatment is just don't eat wheat. I have to admit, already being lactose intolerant that was kind of shirty, to hear, but hey, what can you do? Could have been much worse, but not fun to go through during COVID times and alone. TL, doctor, as I was fading from surgery drugs before a colonoscopy and a doc added an extra step to the procedure and figured it out. Edit, thanks for all the kind words. As I said, I'm doing 100% better. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not recommending anything, but if you're having stomach issues, get your pipes checked out. There's a lot that can go wrong in there. My Fias describes the reaction from eating even a relatively small amount of gluten as being tied to the toilet for days and emptying your body of everything possible. She went through a lot of her teens being malnourished because of undiagnosed celiacs. At least there are some good food alternatives for most things since gluten-free became a pretty popular nutrition fad. Patient was lactating but not pregnant or breastfeeding. Previous doctor told her it was residual from her baby that had been weaned for 14 months. Sent her immediately for a brain scan, brain tumor. She had surgery a week later to remove it and is doing very well now. Edit, wow, I didn't think anyone would even read this, or I would have explained better / tried to sound a bit more professional. I did not do any of the follow-up care. She left my office with a referral for an MRI and a referral to an endocrinologist, who took over care. Also, please, if you are concerned about your health in any way or are not happy with your doctor / care, obtain your medical records and bring them with you to a different doctor. Don't solicit medical advice from strangers on the internet that know nothing at all about your medical history. That is very dangerous to your health. This happened to me. My daughter was 5 years old and I was still lactating. My doctors didn't listen and told me my husband was playing with my breast too much. I went to my cousin, who is a /GYN, and she spoke with my drive and he ran some test. Turns out I have a Rath's cleft pouch on my pituitary gland. It was drained and came back. Due to other doctors not listening to me, it took another 8 years for them to find out I have Addison's disease. By then I shocked everyone that I was even alive. Edit. Hi everyone. Wow, I never expected this to go anywhere. My journey started in the early 80s and I am still getting diagnosis. There are wonderful doctors in this world, especially in America, although our medical system is terrible, and my story is one of many that proves how hard it is to be heard in this world while being a woman. I was young then, and as I got older my voice has gotten much stronger. My conversations with my doctors go a lot differently. Thank you guys for the awards, and great conversation. I appreciate you all. Edit 2. If any of you have medical questions, call your doctors. I am not a drive. I'm just a regular person that's been through some stuff. Husband was playing with my breasts too much. What? I started lactating at 19, having never been pregnant, and the doctor I saw also told me I was playing with my boobs too much. I was so embarrassed. Being young and not knowing better, I just lived with it and wouldn't allow my now husband near my boobs and wouldn't even touch them in the shower. It took 6 years and finally trying, and failing, to start a family and having super irregular periods before a new doctor diagnosed me with hyperprolactinemia. All it would have taken that original doctor was to run a simple blood test instead of telling me to stop playing with myself and acting like I was a pervert. My husband had a weird dimpled spot on his back. Went to the dermatologist multiple times, was brushed off and told not to worry about it. Dermatology even burned off a nodule that was bothering him, at his belt line, but repeatedly said it was nothing and was visibly irritated with us for being anxious. We waited for nearly 10 years before going to another dermatologist since our experience was so negative. Next, dermatology immediately diagnosed what turned out to be a sarcoma which had 10 extra years to grow. My husband now has a 48-inch scar snaking down his back from the removal of the tumor and the reshaping of his back. I now have months of experience with wound drains, tunneling, bandages, triage and the laundry that comes with massive wound healing. I would like to take that first dermatologist who was so fucking patronizing with our concerns and shove his face deeply into his own ass. My friend's sister had a very similar experience. 10 years of asking about it and no doctor took her seriously until she was pregnant. She died 2 years later. Edited a typo. Going to take this opportunity to say you are never too young to have cancer. Everyone waved her off saying you're too young, it's just a mole. If you think something is off, pester your doctor until you get the attention and tests you need and deserve. Good God. I'm so sorry for your loss. Rest in peace. Just a tip for anyone reading this, you can insist to have something removed and tested. I'm a high risk for skin cancer and have had moles removed that the dermatology said were fine. They'd say not worried about it, but I'd say I wanted it removed anyways. So far no cancer, they were right every time. But it's just peace of mind for me. I have no doubt my insurance company would not pay if I demanded a test. I had a brain tumor removed March 19. Ongoing monthly plus complaints of specific symptoms to 2 neurodocs went ignored until I got in a horrible wreck July 20. Multiple witnesses described a full-blown seizure and my kid steering. Hubby is a firefighter and was among first on scene and was begging at her for the EEG. Nope. A month later the physician assistant ordered EEG. Within hours the neuro called me in to start meds right that second. F all of them. I now have a superb doc 3 hours away, but I just really don't feel like waking up dead just yet. Sorry, I didn't realize your comment sent me on a rant, my apologies. I see a comment about having a denial noted. I'm here to yell loud and clear, your doctor controls what is in your notes. But don't get me started. I suppose I have one for this as a resident doctor. We saw a kid in the eMERG for difficulty walking. He had been slowly losing the ability to walk over months, and also had random unexplained projectile vomiting episodes. Looking at his records, he saw his doctor several times who x-rayed one hip. Then the other hip. Gave some Zofra etc. Turns out on exam he is blatantly ataxic, bad coordination, and can't even stand. Failed all our bedside neurological examinations for cerebellum function. It was obvious to me and I'm not even good at this yet. Did a CT scan. Big ass tumor in his cerebellum. It was obstructing fluid drainage in his brain too, raising his intracranial pressure and causing the vomiting. Had to call in the neurosurgeons overnight for emergency drain and he went to ICU. Later had more surgery for the tumor. My supervisor got pretty emotional about it actually. Edit, thanks everyone. The history was that he really declined further over the last few days, prompting the ed visit, so he looked really bad for us, but I'm not sure what he looked like before. To any med students reading this, 1. Do an exam. 2. It's okay to cry sometimes. Jesus, that's horrible. Was he okay, do you know? I haven't followed up yet because our children's hospital uses its own EMR and I've been at other hospitals. Just based on the scan though, I think it would be hard to survive long term and he would have deficits if so. My supervisor made a comment about how he's the same age as my kid, and was visibly upset by it. Really tough situation as a resident to be in, but we did our job.